Welcome to the day 4 of CSS Beginners to Advanced series. I hope my voice is clear to all of you. So, welcome back on the day 4th of CSS Beginner to Advanced series. And today we will start with CSS Grid. The most demanding topic of CSS is the CSS Grid. And today we will try to finish CSS Grid, depends on the time, depends upon the schedule, and if left tomorrow we will complete the rest of the CSS Grid and a small project of CSS which includes the combination of CSS Flexbox, CSS Grid, and entire what we have learned in this entire series. So a warm welcome. Can someone please confirm me that my voice is clear or not? Am I audible to all of you? Can someone please confirm me? So today is the day 4 of CSS Grid, and I hope those who have joined have filled the attendance sheet. Yeah, thanks, Bhagav. Thanks. So I hope those who have joined on the first and day second have filled the attendance sheet. Today also we will be sharing a Google form attendance sheet in the form of a Google form, and you are requested to please fill it properly. That will be shared. That is a system driven event and will be shared by the system only. So we'll wait for some 2 to 3 minutes. So let some more people join. Then we will start the session. Waiting for some time for some more people to join. Waiting for some time for some more. So today we will be public the CSS grid, and today and tomorrow will be the last day for the series. We will end up with a small project of CSS. So I have completed my basic setup by here. Yes, everything is working fine. So let's start with the CSS grid. Now it's already 5 minutes waiting. So What is CSS Grid? As I have told you, CSS Flexbox and CSS Grid both are basically the display properties in which Flexbox will work only in one direction, but CSS works in both the direction. So how CSS works? CSS is actually divide whole of your web page or whole of your page into columns and rows very easily, and there are many ways in which you can place the items in CSS Grid. So Flexbox divides your page only in one direction, but CSS divides your page in both the direction, that is in columns and rows, and it helps very easy to place the items very easily. So let us have some, one second. So let me have a basic structure in order to understand the working of CSS Grid. Fine. So now if you see, let us see how grid works. So let me do one thing. As I've told you, grid divides whole of your page into columns and rows. So we have given the display as grid. Now let us divide our page into columns and rows. So we have grid template column, and we will give columns. We will create columns of two sizes, one of 200 px and another of 500 px. And let us have a grid template row also, in which we will have 200 px, 100 px, and 300 px. That means we have created two columns and three rows. Now let me show you one very important thing. One second. Now here, if you see, one second. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Mm, so here, if you see here, we have actually created two columns and three rows. Fine. First column is this, second column is this, and three rows means one, two, this one, and this one. So what happened here is we have two columns and three rows. That means we can set only six items here, but we have here 10 items to place. So how this has happened here, that by default all the 10 items has placed here. This is because of the CSS grid property. Here if you see, let us have a grid gap of 10 px. So now if you see here, one second, inspect is not working properly, I see. So let me remove this time, this inspect here. So if you see here, we have the last four columns, which is 7, 8, 9, and 10, or I can say the last four items, 7, 8, 9, and 10, have the space depending upon the size of the content. Fine. This happens because of the CSS grid property, where depending upon the size of the content, the space has been allotted to the 7, 8, 9, and 10. Here, if you see, as we have not declared anything, these items have placed there. Now, let us have, again, now let us have one thing here. 1 minute, 1 minute. One second, one. Let me see one more time. Fine, this will work now. So here, if you see here, uh, fine. So if you see, earlier in the last classes we have opened this live server in Google Chrome or in Safari, but today I have opened this in Firefox Developer Edition. If you see here, this is a Firefox Developer Edition. Why Firefox Developer Edition? Because only this Firefox Developer Edition will support this kind of functionality where you can see this grid numbers. If you see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see this grid numbers here only. Nowhere, no other browser supports here the grid numbers functionality here. So here we have the grid template rows and grid template columns. Now there are two type of tracks here. If you see properly, one second. So if you see here proper, if you see here, there are two type of tracks created. This, the dash and the dots. Fine. So these dash are the explicit rows or explicit tracks, and dots are the implicit tracks. Why these tracks are created? These explicit tracks means the dash tracks which are created when we declare gu- grid template rows and grid template columns. So if you see, these dash will only be created till the item number 6 only. For the item number 7, 8, 9 and 10, as we have not created any space for them, they have added these dots which are called as the implicit tracks, because the grid system will create that. Fine. So now let us have a functionality where we will give grid auto rows of 150 px. So what we did just now, for this 7, 8, 9, 10, and the next two columns, we have created the rows, or I can say the items of 150 px. So let me show you what happened here. So if I create one more item here, why it is not working? So leave it for now. So fine. So what we have declared here, we have declared grid auto rows. That means in case in rows, in case any of the new items will add, they will get the space of 150 px. What we have declared here. So that is what the functionality of grid auto rows, which is this one. If you see this 7, 8, 9 and 10 uses 150 px. Now let us have, in order to have the new next functionality, let me comment out this thing. One second. Okay, we will work with only two items. Now, in case if we want any new item to be created or new item to be added, it will automatically come below item number 1, because it's a by default nature that it will come automatically by item, sorry, below item number 1. So for this, if we want the next item to come by the side of item number 2, we have a functionality which is called as grid auto flow. Grid auto flow. One second. We will declare the grid auto flows column. Now, if you see, let me inactive this. Let me make this active. Here by default it comes by the side of item, but let me check also. See, without the grid auto flow code, it comes it comes below item number 1. As soon as we have given grid auto flow as column, it comes by the side of item number 3. This is how this functionality will work, where we want any new item to place by the side of the next item rather than coming by the side. Now let's have some more grid properties, where we will be looking on the sizing tracks in CSS grid. Fine. So let me have one second. See, as I have given grid out of flow as column, all the new items will be created, will gets in the column only. And if you see, depending on the size, it will get their available allotted space. So this is how this functionality will work and will result in this manner. Now, one second, let me have, let me add some more rows, some more divs. 15, fine. Now, let me add grid gap of 20 px. So this seems like this. By default, it takes the this pattern. Now let me have grid template column using the percentage pattern. Fine. So here what we declared, we have declared 4 columns to use the available screen size of 100%. But if you see here, the last of the columns will get merged or will get into the side screen, the item number 4, 8 and 12. So for why this is happening, because the available 100% screen size plus 20 px of this will total be of 120. So this will come an overlap situation. So here CSS Grid introduces a new unit which is called as FR, which is the free space left after the explicit width are laid out. So in order to understand this, let's have the basic CSS, and also we are using a border to get the space. So let me have grid template column of 200p X and 150p X. Fine. Now let me have a border of 5p X solid in black color. Now what we will do, we will have a new column with one FR. So what has happened here? The leftover space has been given to this third column with the unit as 1FR. Now let us have another column as 2FR. Now what has happened? The leftover, twice of the leftover space has been given to the last column, and half of the leftover space has been given to the column number third. So this is the basic functionality of CSS Grid. And let me tell you one thing, CSS Grid is very responsive. See the responsiveness. Depending upon the available screen size, it adjusts automatically. So this is how it works, like that. Now let me do one thing. Let me add the auto functionality and see how this auto functionality will work. So the first column is of auto functionality, which means depending upon the size, if I add multiple Y's, you can see, as I've told you, depending upon the size of the content, automatically the space will be allotted. But here, what is happening? It is replicated to this entire column. So this is not working properly. So here, for this reason, we have given the auto functionality. Fine. Now let me do this reverse. So here, let us add a repeat functionality with the auto functionality in order to make this more powerful. So we have the repeat, and we want what we want. We want two times of one FR and two FR. So what has happened here? First column is of auto. Second, we want two column of one FR and two FR. So this is one FR. This is two FR. Again, this is one FR. Again, this is two FR. Fine. So this is how this functionality will work. So the leftover space will be utilized in this manner also. Fine. If I remove, see, only two times of 2FR. Now let us add one more functionality here. One second. One second. But before adding the one more functionality, let me increase my Okay, so what I did, I have increased the dips now. Uh, 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 uh. I want 5 times of 1FR. So what I did, I have created in one more thing dot item 9. I want the background color to white, nice, and we want the width to 300 px. Fine. So what has happened here? For this item number 9, in order to have some specific event for this item number 9, I have changed the background color and also the width to 300 px. But here what is happening here, as it disturbs the entire column. Now, in order to get this functionality correct, we have a value called grid column, and we will use the span of 2. Now let me remove this. See, so what has happened here, twice of this space has been utilized by item number 9 without affecting the two columns, and the item number 30 will shift below the item number 25. So this is how you can use twice of the space. And one more thing, very interesting, we can use we can have this functionality for grid row also, where you can use the span of 3, and let us see what has happened here. So 3 rows space has been utilized here, and 2 column space has been utilized here. So this is how it will act like this. Fine. Now we have some shortcuts also, without, because let us have this uh, grid column start. I want this to start from 2, and grid column end till where, till 5. Let us see. Fine, so it starts with 2, ends at 5. So let's have grid row start from row number 1, and grid row end row number. So let us see how to. So as you see, grid row start from 1 and at 5. So this is how this functionality will work. These are some common shortcuts which we will be using. Now we have some more shortcuts in order to use this functionality. We have, one second. We have a grid column span of, oh, sorry, we have grid column 2 oblique span of 4. See, 2 till 2, and span of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, grid row 1 span of, this is how its functionality will work. These are some similar, some common shortcuts. Now if we want one more thing, we have One more thing we have, what is that? So we have grid column starts from 2 and at 4. Grid row starts from 1 and at 4. So this is how it works. From 2, starts from 2 and at 4. So 2, 3 and at 4, and grid rows starts from 1, 1 and at 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are few shortcuts which you can use in this way. Now let us have some more things here, and one more thing. And one more thing, let us have 1 second. Okay, let us use now autofill and autofit property in CSS Grid. So in this will make the autofill autofit property will make this even more powerful compared to the previous points what we have discussed here. So now let me have some changes in my basic div structure. And here, now let us have the autofill and autofit property. Autofill property and autofit property are very similar and is used with repeat function. Fine. And it is used by the grid to fit as many as item as possible in the row. Now if you see, and let me show you once again the responsiveness of the CSS grid. See, fine. So here let us work on the autofill property. 20 px border and now grid template column, and here we will use the repeat function with auto fill here. So what has happened here, using the repeat function with autofill with the size of 150 px. See, as soon as the available space will becomes 150 px, automatically the next item will fit here. Fine. So this is the beauty of autofill to 150 px. Now let us have the auto fit property here. Now see what is happening here. Now for this we will use only the four items. Now see what is happening here. Now we will target dot item 4 to the grid column and 2 minus 1. So what we did, 1 second. So day 3 attendance is there on your live YouTube chat. I request you all to please fill this attendance sheet right here right now. Day third attendance sheet is there on your live YouTube chat. Please fill right now. Now let us see. Now what we did. Now another important property which is called as the min max property, which is being used in CSS Grid a lot in order to use the available space as per the size of the item. So it is again a very important tool when it is being used with repeat functionality. So let us use this now. Second. Now as you see we have four items with us. Now we will be using the min max functionality here. See, this is the min max functionality we will use here. Now what this min max functionality will do is, if you see the item number 2 the has a larger content. Now here autofill. 1 second. So this is how it works. So here repeat autofill min max, we have given two types of spaces or spaces, which is first one is 150 px and second one is 1fr. So if any item have the space where he can use the space of 150 px, they can use, and other than they can use the space of 1fr. So this is how you can actually use the min max functionality, where you have multiple items and you want those items to use the space as per their size, like that. So I hope you all have filled the day 3 attendance sheet. So we are ending today here only. Tomorrow we will complete the rest of the CSS grid and a very small project based on the CSS grid, CSS Flexbox, and the CSS Basics what we have learned so far. So thank